baby. Okay. Oh, sleepy head. Okay? Yeah? Not ready to wake up? No. He was 13 months old when he was diagnosed. He had a night of being up sick. And in the morning when he got out of bed, or when I got him out of bed, he was really struggling to breathe. He was grey. He was barely awake. I took him to the doctors, and as soon as I took him into the room and she looked at him, she just got on the phone to the hospital and said he needs to get to the hospital. Within 20 minutes, maybe half an hour of being there, he was diagnosed. We knew what, it was really, really fast. But he was unconscious by this point. If I'd left him any longer, that he wouldn't have survived that day. He wouldn't be here now. It was a really awful time. I never realised how serious diabetes was, and at that time I still didn't realise. I just broke down because I just knew that there was something wrong with my baby, you know.
One of the first things I say to all families in your position is that this isn't your fault. Almost all children who have diabetes have developed type 1 diabetes, and it sometimes runs a little bit in some families more than others, but it's important to say that this is mostly just bad luck that it's happened to your child, and there's nothing you could have done differently to prevent this happening.
What are you all having for breakfast?
Milk.
Toast. With
I
what?
want milk.
Jam.
And this butter.
Just butter. What are you having?
Jam.
With jam. The day that he was diagnosed, that was it. I just packed in work. I wouldn't leave his side.
This is an enormous diagnosis to be given. It has a really significant effect on families. All of us want our children to be healthy, and the diagnosis of diabetes is life-changing, and it's a lot to come to terms with.
Now you have to be checked in, mate. For the first 6 months he was diagnosed, I was up every 2 hours, every night, checking him, you know, and I think the first year he was diagnosed, he had 2 or 3 admissions to hospital because of sickness bugs, and I couldn't force him to eat. I couldn't force him to take his hypo treatment. It was a case of, you know, he's ill and he was in hospital.
I hate doing this. No hard.
I'm only wiping it.
Although Niall has just said, I hate this, you can see that he's being really good. He's holding his finger out nice and still. He's letting his mum do his blood glucose test, and he's not cried and he's not complained.
Bye-bye.
Oh, you woke up perfect this morning, look. It's good, isn't it? He's within the right range. Anything between 5 and 9 is good for him. So now I'm just going to enter his carbs for his breakfast into the machine, and it'll tell me what insulin to give him then. Because he's woken up with a good level, I'll give him his insulin after he's eaten now to make sure that he eats everything, and so he's not having too much insulin. Whereas if he has a higher sugar level, then I would give him his insulin before he eats to prevent it getting any higher, you know.
For almost all children, we try and start off with a process of giving insulin before meals to give the insulin a chance to work. But lots of mums, particularly of younger children, toddlers, who are often picky eaters, find it necessary to see what they've eaten and then adapt the insulin depending on that.
Good boy. Come here, you got to be insulin, please. Yes. Come here. He's going to have his long acting and his fast acting now. He has these together after breakfast. Hold your top up for me. Hold your top up. Come here. Count. 1, 2.
Some patients report that some of their insulins sting, often the longer acting ones, and it's due to the formulation of the insulin. It's not down to a mistake when you're injecting it, it's just how the insulin is made.
Okay, good boy. You okay? School was a big worry for me. It was something that I worried about every single day.
Looking after diabetes in school is a challenge, and it's one that worries families, it certainly worries teachers, but you know, there are 1,500 children with diabetes in Wales. They all go to school, so we can make it work.
Oh, love you. I'll see you in a couple of hours, okay? Go on then, in you go. There really isn't any need to worry. You just need to make sure that the communication is there between parent and teacher, and then you'll be fine.
We can help give Niall as normal time as he can have in school. It's just accepted now as part of our daily routine.
In the reception, they have fruit and milk.
Bys bach. Diolch.
They usually check him around 10:30 and they have their snack about 11 o'clock. But if he, for some reason, does have a higher sugar level, then he can't have the milk and fruit. So he takes a pot of cheese and cucumber and he has a glass of water. And then this is his lunch box. So today he's got a sausage roll in it, some cheese. He does take a small cake, his yoghurt and his fruit. And he takes a bag of crisps and he has a bottle of juice, of sugar-free squash.
If the children are having school dinners, a lot of teams will have actually done the carb counting for the school dinner menu.
So these are his 2 bags that he takes to school.
Right, Niall.
List.
Yeah.
This is a list then of the food that goes into his lunch bag with the carb content of each item that is in there. So the teachers know what they're entering into the monitor when they check him. And then the machine will then tell the teacher what insulin he requires for the amount of food that he is eating, because he may not eat everything that's in the lunchbox.
Bolus, 4 unit.
It becomes part of the daily routine. It's a case of feeling confident that you've had enough training for it. Mum has been wonderful and support us anytime we have any queries. She's always on the end of the telephone. It's quite surprising that we were ever concerned, in a way.
Towards the end of primary school, most children are really happy doing their own finger test, their own injections, and actually it's probably one of those skills that's quite important to develop before you move on to comprehensive school.
I am worried about his teenagers in general, rebel, and I just, I'm concerned that he will rebel against this.
Some of my patients sail through adolescence with no problems whatsoever. If you're worried that things are not working out, speak to your team sooner rather than later. There is no doubt that young people with diabetes are at a significant lifetime risk of complications, and the only way really you can reduce your risk of complications is keeping the glucose as close to the target range for as long as possible every day.
He doesn't very often have extremely high readings, but he's usually between, I would say, the 8 and 12 sort of range, so it's good and bad days.
Danielle was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes last year, but like many busy parents, finds it hard to make time to look after herself.
Unless I felt low, I wouldn't bother checking myself this time of day, particularly, like I said, I'd wait until the kids were in bed. I just carry on with what I got to do in regards to the kids, and I just don't think about sorting myself out, you know, or making sure that I'm okay and stuff. And I should. There isn't really any excuse.
I guess all parents probably do put their children first. It's a natural parenting reaction. At the same time, I guess, you know, your son needs you to look after you as well as you can. So try not to neglect your own care to focus on theirs.
I cook fresh as much as I can, but not every night, because it's just, I haven't got the time to do it every night, if you like, you know. So tonight they'll have frozen food, but I always try and give them something healthy, you know, to go along with it. And they have their fruit and stuff for dessert or snack and things, you know. And Niall still has like sweets, sometimes chocolate, sometimes cakes and things, you know. As long as his insulin is covering what he's eating, then he's okay, you know.
Remember to not just focus on carbohydrate counting and dose adjustment, but to think about healthy eating principles as well. And your dietitian will teach you those.
Right, Niall, I need to do your finger, please. Which one?
That one. No.
8.2, Niall. 8.2. So I'm going to put his carbs into the machine now for his food. So we need to take into account everything that he's going to eat tonight. So we've got his tea, which is about 30. And then he'll have a glass of milk, or small glass of milk before bed, which is about 10. And then his afters are usually about 10. And then you'll also have some fruit. So about 60 carbs is the food for the rest of the night. So it's telling me to give him 2.5 units. So we'll save that now. And then later on when we come to check him, if they think there's any insulin left in him, then it'll show up once we've done the test. It'll say, 0.5 remaining or whatever it might be. It might be nothing, but if there is anything, it'll let us know. And then, so for instance, if I check him at 6 o'clock and he still has half a unit in him and his reading is 5.6, then I would probably have to give him a slightly bigger snack to make sure that he doesn't drop, but either before bed or once he's in bed.
Most young people who go low in the night will wake up and recognise it and seek help appropriately to make their glucose come up. Work really closely with your team about getting the food and insulin balance right so that you gradually build up confidence that nighttime lows are not likely to happen.
If he was 5.6 and I checked him and he had half a unit of insulin in him and he didn't have anything, then the likelihood is within the next hour or so he would have a hypo. And he would either not sleep and he would come and tell me that he didn't feel right, or it would wake him up and he would come and tell me that he didn't feel quite right. And then obviously we would treat it then.
We can count the carbohydrates in the food, we can think about and plan for exercise. But even if you have two seemingly identical days, it can be a huge frustration for lots of families where they get wildly different blood glucose results. And I guess then that's all the things we can't account for and can't control for. Even things like the weather can have an effect on your diabetes, your mood and emotions can have an effect on your diabetes. Where you put your injection in terms of how well the insulin is absorbed from an injection site, all these things can have an effect. So what I would say to parents is you can do your best.
I'm gonna squid it.
Push button.
Bang!
Right, so you take them off, you're going to put them in your sharps box for me? Go on then, you know where they go. All done?
Yeah.
Good boy. Okay.
There is no doubt that diabetes is a relentless illness to look after. I hear lots of children and parents say there's never a day off.
But you will be okay, you will get through it, and you will just make it part of your life and just do what you can to make sure that your child is okay.
Diabetes UK runs a helpline for parents with advice about school. They have information and support for young people of all ages as well as parents. Take a look at the website.